Welcome back to the channel. If you like what you're seeing, please give this video a big thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. And then also tell me some games that you played in 2021 that were your favorite releases. Now, keep a couple of things in mind before I start this list. First of all, I'm only going to be talking about new games that I played that have came out in 2021. I'm not going to be talking about old games that have come out in previous years that I played this year. And then also, I'm not really going to be showing you any footage of any game in this video, to be honest. I'm not really lazy per se, but it's more on the fact that 99% of these games you probably already heard of because I don't really play anything obscure or anything really weird. Most of them are well-known, established franchises for the most part, give or take maybe one or two games, so it's not really a big deal. So without further ado, let's start this list. First off, let's start with the Nintendo Switch. Now, moving on to the Nintendo Switch, I did play the port of Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury, and what can I really say about that game? It's pretty much the same game that you love on the Wii U, maybe with some quality of life improvements, like for instance, the characters in that game move a little bit faster, and the biggest thing with that game is you do get online co-op, but keep in mind online co-op is with friends only. You can't play with random strangers on the internet. It does have to be with friends on your friends list. For that, honestly, I can't really say anything bad about the game. It's a pretty good game, but honestly, it's definitely not the greatest 3D Mario game. It's kind of like a 3D Mario game meets a 2D Mario game, if that makes sense. If you ever played 3D World, then you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. It does come with an expansion called Bowser's Fury, and Bowser's Fury is a very good game, but I don't think it's really worth your time to go get 3D World if you already played it just to play Bowser's Fury, because the thing is with Bowser's Fury, although it is a very great game, the problem is it's very short. It only lasts you about 6 to 7 hours, and honestly, I wouldn't recommend it. Even if you're going to 100% Bowser's Fury, I wouldn't recommend it. Maybe if you just really enjoy replaying 3D World, you'll have Bowser's Fury to enjoy, or you never played 3D World to begin with, then you'll have that whole package to play with. But honestly, if you've already played it and you really just want to play Bowser's Fury, I would honestly wait for a heavy discount on that game, or wait until you have some credit laying around to really recheck that package out, because 3D World is just 3D World. It's a great Mario game, but it's nothing mind-blowing or nothing so amazing that you have to buy it for $60. That is kind of a questionable port. It's only really for people who haven't played 3D World, even though I still think right now one of my favorite 3D Mario games is actually Bowser's Fury, because I love the concept of that game, but it's just not worth $60 just for that game alone, if that makes sense. Now, the next game on my list definitely has to be Monster Hunter Rise. I did pick up Monster Hunter Rise, and the thing is, I'm not really a big Monster Hunter fan, but for some reason, I really wanted to check that out because I did check out the demo for that game, and the thing is, I'm really a big fan of how they made the gameplay slightly faster. I think that's why I couldn't get into Monster Hunter to begin with. I know so many people love Monster Hunter, but for me, I just couldn't get into Monster Hunter in the past. I just always thought the combat was slow, clunky, just combat that was just not for me. It wasn't really the repetitive nature of the game. It was more so the combat just didn't feel satisfying to me. But yeah, I love the fact that you have an animal to ride now, and then on top of that, you do actually have the wire bug. The wire bug is a big deal to me because it makes combat faster, especially when you get knocked down by the monster itself. You can swing yourself back up really quickly, and also you can swing through the environment like Spider-Man. Overall, it is a fantastic game, and if you're looking for a game that'll give you hundreds of hours of gameplay, definitely Monster Hunter Rise. They are also going to be releasing a big expansion pack next year for Monster Hunter Rise, which is going to be as big as Iceborne, if not bigger, next year for Monster Hunter Rise. Also, they are releasing Monster Hunter Rise outside of the Switch next year on PC, so if you don't have a Switch, or if you want to play it in better quality, then definitely check out the PC version of that game. I would safely say that if you're not really a person like me that's not really into Monster Hunter, I think Monster Hunter Rise is definitely the best entry in the series to really get you in to the Monster Hunter series, just due to the fact that the combat's faster, you have the wire bug now, you have an animal to run around, and then on top of that, also you can play with people online, up to 4 players with random strangers, so that's also nice if you need people to play with. It's just overall a very good game. I would easily rank it one of my favorite games this year, hands down, without a doubt. Monster Hunter Rise is an amazing game. Now, the next game on my list for the Switch, which is actually my last game, is going to be the brand new Animal Crossing DLC. I am a pretty big Animal Crossing fan, and I did pick up that DLC. Essentially, the Animal Crossing Happy Home Paradise is basically Happy Home Designer 2. If you ever played that game back on the 3DS, it's pretty much game where you go to another island on the Animal Crossing New Horizons game, where you pretty much just decorate other villagers' houses. They'll request a different build and you build. That's pretty much it with it. It's really up to you if you want to buy it or not. It's not groundbreaking. It's not game changing for the Animal Crossing series. It's just there. If you want more content or you like decorating, then go ahead and buy it. But it's definitely not a must buy in my opinion. I really did enjoy that DLC, but again, what I can say is I don't think that DLC is for everybody, especially if you don't like decorating or if you don't like decorating, it's not really necessary because it doesn't add anything to the main core gameplay of Animal Crossing. It's its own separate thing inside of Animal Crossing, if that makes sense. I mean, you do get some new items in that DLC that you can only get on that DLC to bring back to your main island, but for the most part, it's just if you love decorating, then you'll really enjoy it. If you don't really love decorating, you won't enjoy it. I mean, the whole point of Animal Crossing is to decorate in the first place, but this just takes it up a notch where you're decorating random villagers' houses, if that makes sense. Now let's move on to the Xbox. And the interesting thing with the Xbox, I did get a brand new Series S to play with, and the thing is, every single game that I played this year were all brand new releases, but they came out on Games Pass day one. But that makes sense, of course, because that's where it is. First party titles on the Xbox are getting pretty good this year, if you ask me, in my opinion. First off, let's start off with Microsoft Flight Simulator. It's pretty impressive how Flight Simulator is on the Xbox now. You can play it on the S or you can play it on the X, of course. And that game is a fantastic game. The frame rates are nice. The visuals are nice. What can I really say about that game? I think easily Microsoft Flight Simulator is for everybody because you can explore the world. Even if you're not really into flying planes and things like that, I think everyone can enjoy that game because just looking around the world, just seeing stuff, that game is absolutely fun to just do. Just like maybe, let's say for instance, drop down in New York City and fly around and see like the Statue of Liberty and things like that. You can pretty much go anywhere in the world. As long as it's in the world, most likely it's in Flight Simulator. I think there is some stuff missing here or there, but for the most part, all the big stuff you would want to see in the world, like the Seven Wonders of the World, the Grand Canyon, the Space Needle in like Seattle, is there in the game, and it's just a flat out fantastic game. And it's also a relaxing game. If you're a person that loves relaxing games, then you're probably gonna love Flight Simulator. Overall, I'm just so blown away by how good it runs, even on the Series S, the little brother of the Series X, of course. I just love Flight Simulator, and that's a game I always go back to every once in a while just to fly around with different planes and things like that, and just look how gorgeous the world is overall. It's not really a game, of course, it's a simulator, but I think that game's can be for everybody. It's just a relaxing and amazing experience, especially since we can't travel the world now. There's a lot of limitations, so it's nice to be able to go to different places. Now, the next one on my list is definitely going to be Back 4 Blood. If you haven't heard of Back 4 Blood, it's basically the successor to the Left 4 Dead series. It's actually made by the same studio who made the original, I think Turtle Rock Studios, and I was really going to love this game, but for some reason I just couldn't get into Back 4 Blood, and it's kind of sad because I really wanted to get into it because I am a big Left 4 Dead fan. Left 4 Dead was easily my favorite game I played back on the 360 era. I played Left 4 Dead 1 and Left 4 Dead 2, but for some reason I couldn't get into Back 4 Blood. I think it's the characters weren't as satisfying as Left 4 Dead. They really felt connected. In Back 4 Blood, they don't really feel connected. Their voice lines are kind of corny and cheesy and not really well developed, and they don't really match up. It just doesn't make sense. I don't actually like the guns in the game. I think the guns in the game are just not that satisfying. I wish the guns would have been way more satisfying, but they really didn't do it for me for some reason, and that's kind of sad because I really wanted to like the game. And then I'm not really a big fan of the corruption cards or just the cards in the game. Basically what they tried to do with the formula of Left 4 Dead was they basically took the formula of Left 4 Dead but tried to make it more replayable, if that makes sense. They added these things called cards in the game which pretty much give you different perks. Let's say for instance your gun does more damage, you can reload faster. You basically get to choose these cards when you start an area of the game. It'll give you a selection of cards, and you can make a deck of cards, again, with things like faster reloads. Every time you do a headshot to an enemy, it does more damage. Every time you use like medicine or something, it heals you more, and things like that. And then they also got corruption cards to make the game much more harder. But overall, I just could not get in that game, and it's kind of sad because, like I said again, I love Left 4 Dead. I'm not hating those people who love Back 4 Blood, because Back 4 Blood is a pretty decent game, but for me, I just couldn't get into the game. I wouldn't say I hate the game, but I wouldn't say I love the game. It's just there. If somebody wanted to boot the game up and play with me, sure, I would definitely go out and play it, but I don't think I would just randomly boot it it up and say, yeah, I want to play Back 4 Blood today with strangers or even by myself. That game doesn't make sense. Also, Back 4 Blood is a game you really need to play with random strangers or somebody you know. You can't really play it by yourself, just due to the fact that the AI in that game are incredibly dumb, to be honest, and everyone knows that they die in like an instant and they don't really help you, so there's that. So make sure you have somebody to play or some random strangers to play Back 4 Blood with. The next game on the list that I played this year was the brand new Psychonauts 2, and Psychonauts 2 is a good game. It's pretty much a successor to the original Psychonauts game back on the original Xbox. And that game is a good game, but I just couldn't get into that game. I think it has to do with the fact that I'm not really a big fan of the art style. The art style really put me off. I know it's a shame because so many people love that game, and that was in the Game Awards in so many different categories, but I just could not get into Psychonauts 2. I think it also didn't help the fact that I never played the original to begin with, and I heard you really had to play the original to get into Psychonauts 2 because a lot of the characters and storylines were connected as far as I'm aware, and that really didn't help the situation. But I can see the potential there, and I can see this being one of the best platformers in like the last couple of years for sure. So if you're into platformers, especially 3D platformers or just platformers in general, then definitely check out Psychonauts. And especially if you're on Xbox and you have Games Pass, you don't have nothing to lose, so go ahead and try it. Honestly, I should get back into Psychonauts 2 because that game is like a movie, like an animated movie came to a video game because the graphics and everything just looked phenomenal. Another problem I didn't like with the game was the fact that this game in particular had a lot of cutscenes, and I don't like my games with heavy cutscenes here or there. It just really didn't do anything for me. It was like cutscene after cutscene after cutscene after cutscene, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but for me, it just didn't do it. But I may go back to that game. I played probably about 10 hours before I gave the game up, to be honest. And then the next game I played, which you may never heard of, is called The Artful Escape. That came out this year, and that's an artsy-fartsy game. I would recommend not looking up any footage of that game because it might spoil some of the game, but that game is an amazing game. The story is so-so. The gameplay is not gameplay at all. Like I said again, it's more of an artsy-fartsy game. If you play things like Journey or Flower and things like that, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. It's basically a walking simulator. They do have some sections where it's kind of like a rhythm-based game, but besides that, it's pretty much a walking simulator. Maybe once in a while you do a little bit of jumping, but that's about it. But overall, I really did like that game. I just love the art style. I kind of love the story of that game. I just love that game. Would I have bought that game without Games Pass? No, probably not, but since I already beat it, I do love that game. I would highly recommend checking out The Artful Escape. I don't think artsy-fartsy games are for everybody, but if you're looking for a relaxing game that has a pretty good narrative, that has a really good world in terms of the characters, in terms of the art style and things like that, please give The Artful Escape a try for sure. The next game on my list is definitely going to be Scarlet Nexus. Now, if you know anything about me as a gamer, I'm not really a gamer that does play a lot of RPGs because RPGs aren't my cup of tea. I don't know why, but if I do play RPGs, I tend to play more action RPGs than any other type of RPG. So Scarlet Nexus was absolutely a fantastic game. Unfortunately, I did not beat the game, but I played a lot of the game and I like the game. If you're into JRPGs, then you'll definitely love this game. It's very anime style, and there's nothing really wrong with this game. I know a lot of people have controversial opinions about this game, but I really do love Scarlet Nexus. And the nice thing about Scarlet Nexus, it is enhanced for the Xbox Series S and X consoles as well, but overall it is a very fantastic game. I will say this game does take a little bit to get going just due to the fact that you do have skill trees and you have to put points in certain skills in your tree, so some basic stuff in combat does seem like it's not really available to you until later on in the game, but besides that, overall it is very good. I didn't really understand the story. I didn't really like the story per se, but just the fact that the game was pretty fun to play, I stuck with it and I played most of the game, and overall Scarlet Nexus gets a very big thumbs up from me. I would definitely recommend checking it out if you have Games Pass. Even if you don't have Games Pass, check out Scarlet Nexus if you love JRPGs or if you love action type games like that. And then the next one is Forza Horizon 5. Please play Forza Horizon 5. I easily think Forza Horizon 5 is one of the best games I played this year, if not the best game, just because the graphics of the game are so impressive. It's easily one of the best, if not the best looking games I've easily ever played in my life, period. It's amazing, especially if you own the Series X. If you own the Series S, it's still very impressive there as well. This game scaled extremely well. I will say for a racing game, it's very generic. It's not really trying to reinvent the wheel of an open world racing game, because that's what it is. But what it does well, it does extremely well, and I love this game a lot. I just think this game is a very good game, and even if you're not a person that loves racing games, you should still check this game out, because like I said, it's one of the best looking games I've ever played to date, period. Probably. It's just so freaking amazing, and Playground Studios hit this game out the park without a doubt. This game is easily a 10 out of 10, and I don't regret playing this game. And there's also a lot to do with this game, whether you're doing a lot of events in single player or whether you're playing online. There is a lot to do in this game, and this game will take you quite some time to actually beat. And even if you beat it, there's a whole bunch of stuff you can do online with this game and everything like that. So please check out Forza Horizon 5. It's easily one of the best games this year for the Xbox brand. They hit this game out of the park. And then the last and final game on my list is definitely going to be Halo Infinite. I love Halo Infinite. Now, the nice thing about Halo Infinite is the multiplayer is free to play on Xbox and on the PC, so you don't have to pay for it. It is totally free, but the campaign is its own separate thing. If you have Games Pass, Halo Infinite's campaign is going to be free, but if you don't have Games Pass, you have to pay for it. Unfortunately, the weird thing is it's still $60 for the campaign, which blows my mind, because the multiplayer is free. So what are you paying $60 for? I don't know if necessarily the campaign is worth $60, but 343 Industries did already say that they're going to keep adding on more stuff to the campaign. So this is not the final build of the campaign. So if you were to play campaign today and then play the same campaign 3 or 4 years from now, there will be more stuff to do, because they are going to keep updating the campaign for a long time. They're just going to have that as the base and then keep on adding it. Now, overall, I love this Halo game. I think easily this is the best Halo game they've ever made, period, even including the Bungie games. Yes, I know this may be controversial, or maybe not, but either way, I love this game. I just think I love the fact that the guns are so satisfying to shoot, whether you're shooting a BR, the AR. 99% of guns in this game are satisfying, and I think these are the most satisfying guns I've ever used in a Halo game today. I just love everything about this game. I will have to say this game still needs more content. It's still lackluster on the content, especially on the multiplayer side. It's still missing modes that we all love. Like, for instance, it doesn't have Infection. I'm still waiting for Team Snipers, hopefully one day. They did add a couple of other modes recently in the last couple of days. Like, we got Team Slayer now. We have Free For All. We have SWAT. So they are adding new modes. And there are going to be adding new modes in the future, basically just like the campaign. They want to make this an experience where they pretty much have the multiplayer as well, and they pretty much just keep building upon the existing multiplayer. That's pretty much how it is. So, of course, they'll probably rotate modes here or there. They'll probably add modes here or there. So I'm waiting until this has more content. And, of course, we still don't have Forge in the game, which is kind of sad, because I do wish Forge was there and things like that, because there's just still stuff that is missing. But from what we got right now, this game is a really good game. The multiplayer is very fun. The campaign is very fun. If you don't know anything about the campaign is the first time Halo has been open world. It's kind of like Halo 1. That's kind of how I think of the campaign. It really reminds me a lot of Halo 1, just due to the areas that you visit. It's very grassy. It's very hilly. It has a lot of mountainsides and things like that. That's how I think of the campaign. But I love the structure of the campaign, whether you're capturing bases or whether you're capturing like towers and facing enemies. Also, one thing I guess I don't like about the campaign is when you first play the campaign, this is a little spoiler, so please mute the speakers if you don't want to hear this, but basically the beginning of the campaign is very linear and it's very dark. I'm not a fan of that. I originally was on the assumption it would be like Breath of the Wild, where it would just throw you into the open world, but no, it takes a little while before you get into the open world. But I guess it's not the end of the world, but that's something that kind of disappointed me, because when I heard open world, I'm a big fan of open world games, so I just assumed, oh yeah, you'll be thrown into the open world right away. But no, that's clearly not the case. But overall, I love Halo Infinite, and those are all the games that I played this year. Please, again, feel free to comment down in the comment section below all the games that you played this year, and tell me what are some of your favorite games, whether they're on PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo, PC. I would love to hear your feedback, and we can talk about games. Anyway, guys, this is Wayne from My Tech News, signing out.